So real quick, I just wanted to apologize for the shorter length of this video. I've done about a week's worth of research and wanted to make a much longer video originally, but I'm sick with 104-degree fever right now, running on 2 hours of sleep, and yesterday both Bife and Asdacross mentioned in separate videos that they had Veil videos coming out later this week, and if I got one comment telling me that I copied either of them, I'm going to McFucking lose it after I put so much work into this video. So just know that if you all like this theory, I have a much larger video planned if this video does decent. I even made a thumbnail for it on how I believe all of Destiny, the moral of its story, the powers of light and dark, etc., have a significant amount to do with mushrooms. Well, fungi in general, but saying mushrooms is a lot more fun. I'm also legally obligated to tell you that this video is strictly for educational and theory crafting purposes pertaining to the video game Destiny 2. YouTube, please don't age restrict me. So I hope you're all ready for the ramblings of a Destiny 2 lore nerd that just so happens to be fascinated with mushrooms, consciousness, and mycology as a whole. So as long as y'all are alright with my crazy hippie ramblings, let's continue. Now this whole thing started when I saw a specific Twitter post, and it became so obvious to me after it was pointed out with how much Bungie hyped up this expansion being very psychedelic themed and Strand being about pulling back the curtain of reality and opening up your third eye. I was like, okay Bungie, I see what you're doing. But all credit for me even diving down this rabbit hole goes to V40 on Twitter, hopefully I didn't butcher her name, and she simply made this tweet saying, "Hear me out," and a diagram of a mushroom. The basic foundation of this theory is that the Veil itself is a mushroom. Yeah, obviously like a cosmic mushroom, unlike anything we've ever seen before, but definitely paracausal in nature with what little game dialogue we have to go off of. Paracausal, by the way, for those who don't know, is just a fancy way of saying that it defies the laws of physics. What you and me would call space magic, scientists would call paracausal. Anyways, back to the Veil and how it relates to fungi and mushrooms. The first time you see the Veil in-game is in the final mission when you go deep underground through a bunch of locked doors, all secret government conspiracy-like, and eventually stumble across it in a massive room where it illuminates the entire place in a thick purple. Your ghost even says that it feels familiar, almost like the Traveler. But we now know through the in-game Strand lore book, Osiris mentions that the Veil is indeed a darkness artifact, and several other sources in-game confirm that Strand itself is a new power to us that the Veil granted. You then proceed down even further and run past a prototype cloud arc, a massive system that all of the citizens of Neptune have uploaded their conscious minds to while their bodies are in cryosleep. You then jump down even further below ground and now see the bottom of the Veil, with a bunch of machines with chairs in them, which we can assume were used for transferring consciousness into the prototype cloud arc. Finally, we approach Callus as he just beat you there, and now see above us in the boss room, the bottom of the Veil, staring at us. Now that you've seen the basic shape of this thing, let me point out a specific logo that is throughout the Lightfall expansion. It's on the Neomuna lore book, the legendary campaign emblem, and even seen throughout the patrol destination on buildings. We can also see it in 3 different keyframes from the opening cinematic, where the witness touches the Traveler to reveal the Veil's location. And just yesterday, a ton of Bungie artists revealed their full concept art for the expansion, and included in these concept art pieces was the full Veil itself. Okay, now that you know what this thing looks like, let's check out the mushroom diagram again. You have the cap, which is at the top of it, and right underneath the cap is this flap of tissue from when it fully opens called the Veil. But hang on, it gets way better than that. Keep going lower, and at the bottom of every living mushroom, you will find mycelium. Now, what is mycelium, you might ask? Well, here comes the hippie nerd talk, because mycelium is fascinating. Have you ever lifted up some wet, decaying wood before to find this white, stringy stuff underneath? That is mycelium. Not roots, not spiderwebs, but an interconnected network that resembles the worldwide web of consciousness between mushrooms and fungi alike. This stuff can stretch out for literal miles as one single living organism. In fact, the largest living organism on Earth is a mycelium network up here in the Pacific Northwest that covers more ground than 1,600 football fields. But now we're getting sidetracked. Point is that the tweet pointing out the Veil's similarities to a mushroom is what got me thinking of other similarities I could find in the Lightfall campaign. We know that the Neomuna citizens all uploaded their consciousnesses to the Cloud Arc, as when we arrive, we can see all the citizens in this digitalized form. The citizens around Neomuna have mentioned that the Cloud Arc is indeed organic.
But the Cloud Arc's not like an old-fashioned computer network. It's everywhere. Organic.
Quinn mentions in dialogue at one point that the Veil has something to do with the collective unconsciousness of the citizens.
I've read some academic studies on Veil transcription of the collective unconscious.
And the Cloud Strider Blue Jay, a former Cloud Strider, sounds like he might have been on some special fungi himself, which I do not condone. YouTube, please don't age restrict me.
It's the shadow of every story and memory and hope we brought with us. The stars are off limits, but the Veil knits an entire universe for us. We just had to embrace it.
And now that I've presented you with some evidence, let me break it all down for you PNW hippie style. The first thing you need to know about fungi is that they are not plants nor animals. They are distinctively their own kingdom entirely. For the longest time, we thought fungi was just a type of plant until around the 1960s, scientists learned that these organisms do not photosynthesize like plants do. That is to say, turn the sun's rays into energy. Instead, they consume other living or dead organisms to survive. And when we look at mushroom DNA, it actually closely resembles the animal kingdom rather than the plant kingdom, meaning that somewhere down the evolutionary line, fungi split off from plants, and then animals split off from fungi, making them our common ancestor. Kinda like Clovis Bray wanted to become in the EXO program, wink wink nudge nudge. Speaking of Clovis, you can actually see clarity control tubes, the same ones that are found in Deepstone Crypt, all around the Veil building area in Neomuna. I don't know if that is relevant or just reused assets, but I'm getting sidetracked again. Oh Jesus, I planned this video to be only like 2 minutes long and I'm already hippie ranting much longer than I wanted to. Back to this chart, I just wanted to quickly mention that mycelium is often referred to as strands, and the last few charts I showed have this little part of the mushroom head that splits off when it sprouts, and that little flab of mushroom skin is called the veil. I could call it another type of skin since it's very phallic-like in nature, but I will restrain myself as it is probably already hard enough to keep this video non-age restricted. Even more interesting, there is a mushroom called the veiled lady that has a hole at the top of it for spores to ooze out, and when it sprouts and releases these spores, this webbed veil comes down from underneath the cap to spread them. Thus, the reason it is called the veiled lady. Where else have we seen a veiled lady in Destiny 2? Through my research, I also found a Fanbyte article that talked about egregore, the fungi we found aboard the Presage mission and aboard Callus's Leviathan in Season of the Haunted. Turns out there are a specific type of fungus that closely resemble the egregore in-game called Zygomycota. Hopefully I didn't butcher that. Now remember how I mentioned earlier that fungus doesn't photosynthesize like plants do? They actually need to eat other biological creatures the same way animals do for energy. So that's why mushrooms in particular love to grow in dark, secluded places. Well, this specific type of fungus is unique and does react to light. When light rays hit the Zygomycota, they shoot off their spores at a very high velocity to get them as far away as possible to reproduce. Not saying that this is exactly what happens when our ghost, that contains the Traveler's Light by the way, connects with the veil, but it does make sense and also backs up the idea of why the veil is hidden so deep underground. Could it be hidden so deep underground to prevent the Traveler's Light from ever meeting it? Obviously, they could have just been hiding it, but I digress. Now, like I said, it is confirmed through text in game that this new paracausal power strand comes from the veil itself. During Callus's boss fight, you can see what everyone is calling roots descend down around you during the second phase of the fight, but I am calling this mycelium, not roots. Kinda like what everyone is saying roots to exploding out of the disciples when you defeat them. We've even got dialogue in-game of Callus telling us the egregore is a literal fungus that is similar to Earth's mushrooms, but is able to transcend consciousness through conduits between space and time.
Aspirating the egregore spores allows them to take root in your body. While they are symbiotic, they are also short-lived. But for a time, they join your consciousness to that of the mycelial network and other minds that would witness you. These fungi are not unlike your world's mushrooms in how they live, how they breathe, how they grow. Their mycelial networks do not proliferate in soil, but rather spread like ethereal conduits between dimensions of space.
Yeah, that's a lot. And one last thing I wanted to point out by Reddit user Celebrity Stranger, the Drifter is hauling that pocket universe behind his ship that the Nine gifted him, right? Yeah, and if it is indeed a pocket universe like the Drifter and Emissary have told us, this crazy Cloud Strider screaming about the veil might have been onto something.
But the veil knits an entire universe for us!
But I gotta wrap this video up. It's already been much longer than I anticipated it would be, but at the end there I gave you little bits and pieces of my larger theory, that is to say that all of Destiny is about fungi and mushrooms. Yes, all of it. The light, the traveler, the darkness, and the witness are all fungal in nature. I swear I was going crazy this past week for all the relevant stuff I was finding. Anyways, if you all enjoyed the video, please make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment letting me know if you found this interesting. If you want me to make a video on my full mushroom theory, please let me know down in the comments below, and I'll try to upload a much larger one in the next month or so. I've been obsessed with fungus for the past year or so, so this video was extremely fun just to nerd out on. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace. Oh hey, Max from the future here. I'm still sick with a fever, and that must have made me space out on adding these two things into the video. Both of them are a pretty big reach. I mean, this whole mushroom theory in general is a pretty big reach, or at least a crackpot theory at best. But two things I noticed that I also wanted to share was how the Veil containment building itself in-game is kind of shaped like a mushroom. Really, the only thing that makes me think that is that the fans underneath the sides there kind of look like gills you'd find under a mushroom cap. Probably reading too much into it. But secondly, the music you hear when you see the Veil for the first time in-game is the Darkness theme, but played at a much lighter toned synthwave. And I noticed it sounds similar to the music mushrooms themselves can make when you hook them up to a synthesizer. Their bioelectrical pulses that run through their mycelium network can actually sound like music. But yeah, those last two things might have been reaching a little too far, but I felt the need to include them anyway just for fun. Alright, that is it for real this time. Later.